all Cubans, and at the political level, the right of every nation to self-governance. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I really want to thank members. You're going to put it, yes. Yeah, put.
My Lady, having concluded the debates on the matter, I wish now to ask that the motion be approved in this House.
Members, the question before you as parliamentarians is that the motion, debate of which has just completed, be approved. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. The motion has been approved.
Madam Speaker, I just wish to thank everyone who participated. It's great that there is no divide on this government's policy of having the embargo removed, that we were united in our presentations today. So, Madam Speaker, at this time, we will continue the State of the Constituency debate. And contributions today will be made by Mr. Robert Montague, MP for St. Mary Western, and Mr. Robert Miller, Member of Parliament for St. Catherine South East. Madam Speaker, I now ask that Standing Orders 32C(3),
the liberty and the important human rights of all Cubans, and at the political level, the right of every nation to self-governance. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I really want to thank members. You're going to put it, yes. Yeah, put.
My Lady, having concluded the debates on the matter, I wish now to ask that the motion be approved in this House.
Members, the question before you as parliamentarians is that the motion, debate of which has just completed, be approved. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. The motion has been approved.
Madam Speaker, I just wish to thank everyone who participated. It's great that there is no divide on this government's policy of having the embargo removed, that we were united in our presentations today. So, Madam Speaker, at this time, we will continue the State of the Constituency debate. And contributions today will be made by Mr. Robert Montague, MP for St. Mary Western, and Mr. Robert Miller, Member of Parliament for St. Catherine South East. Madam Speaker, I now ask that Standing Orders 32C(3) be suspended to enable the members making their contributions during the debate on this motion to continue their speeches for 30 minutes, notwithstanding the time limit on speeches. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Members, the question before the House is that the Standing Order 32C(3) be suspended to enable the members making their contributions this evening during this debate on the motion to continue their speeches for 30 minutes, notwithstanding the time time limit on speeches in the standing orders. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The member from St. Mary Western, the Honourable Mr. Robert Montague.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to speak in this most important debate. And I am very happy for it, Madam Speaker. It's my first time speaking in the constituency debate for all my time in the House. Firstly, Madam Speaker, let me thank my 4 councillors and my only councillor caretaker, my management team, workers, office staff, and my security detail, and all the good people of Western St. Mary who have sent me to represent them and their issues in this honourable House. This is when we get to bring the issues and solutions to the forefront. We hope for action, but it should not be hope, Madam Speaker. It should be that the budget is formulated on the issues of the people and not the priorities of the technocrats. Speaker, I believe that a senior team from the Ministry of Finance should be here, because this is when the issues of the people are highlighted and which should form the basis on which the budget is crafted. I'm therefore recommending, Madam Speaker, that the leadership of the House demand that a senior team from the Ministry of Finance join us for the duration of this debate. Madam Speaker, the people of Western St. Mary are having a hard time with their banking needs, as the commercial banks have all gone cashless and are charging fees as if they are going out of style. We are of the view that the banks are putting profits over people. Madam Speaker, when I put my money in a bank, I expect it to be kept safe. I expect the bank to lend it out and give a portion of the interest that they charge the borrower to me. I am told that the banks credit your accounts at least twice per year with this interest. If this be so, Madam Speaker, it means that every account that has activity at least twice per year. If this is true, how then can an account become dormant? On what basis are they charging a dormancy fee? If there is no activity on the account, the banks need to tell us what are they doing with the interest earned from these accounts. If they lend out people's money and don't give back a portion of the interest earned, it is not only fraud, it is downright robbery. Absolutely. The Minister of Finance and the BOJ must investigate and find the banks, plus every dormant fee charged over the last 7 years must be returned with interest. If the banks refuse to pay back and stop the practice, then the minister must report the matter to the police. It is time the poor, suffering bank customers get some redress, and that is why I am making the call to the Minister of Finance. Furthermore, when I lodge my money with the banks, there is an expectation on my part for the banks to keep my information confidential. Today in Western St. Mary, Madam Speaker, apart from Jamaica National, operating 3 times per week, we have no commercial banks. We have to travel for miles to find an ATM. Most times, they are not working. Yet there is no operating standards. And people have to be standing in line with lots of cash. And many times, as you reach the machine, it broke down. Then when you lodge your funds, Madam Speaker, the banks now give my money to a third party to be collected, counted, and credited to my account. My information is in the hands of a BPO operator without my knowledge or consent. If this third party does not lodge my money on time, the bank then goes ahead and charges overdraft fees. Again, no liability from the bank. The BPO employee who signed no confidentiality agreement with me now has my information. If one of them takes 10 cents from my account daily or 10 cents out of every account, you know how much that is, Madam Speaker? It is estimated that there are over 500,000 savings and current accounts that are not dormant. Madam Speaker, that's $1 million per month if 10 cents is taken 5 days per week. My information can be sold to a lot of scammers. And as you know, being from the West, that now you have scamming in Ireland, a new industry. Many people are seeing funds going missing from their accounts, credit cards running up massive balances, and all kinds of funny activities on their accounts. But the banks don't hold themselves liable. They hold the people of Western St. Mary and other rural towns liable. And if you appeal to them for redress, they tell you all 4 or 5 months before you can get any redress. The Minister of Finance and the Bank of Jamaica must act on this matter. A banking license, Madam Speaker, is a privilege. It's not a right. The issuer of that license can rein in the entity. Don't tell me that the minister or the BOJ has no power. The government always have a big stick, and they must use it on behalf of the people of Western Sydney. If you can't use it against the banks who are licensed, how you run down a taximan who is also licensed? He has a license, and we beat up on the taximan when the service is not up to par or when he breaches. Is it only that poor people we have strength for? If you cannot touch or rein in the banks, then don't touch the taxi operator. There must be one rule, one principle for everybody, banker or taximan. Madam Speaker, I am calling on the minister to use this moment to call in the banks. Give them 60 days to clean up their act and treat their customers better. I am appealing to the minister to seize this moment. Seize the moment. Let me be very clear, Madam Speaker. Very clear. I am not calling for any taxes on the banks or on their profits, just better customer service. There must be operating standards, penalties if they are breached, abolishment of fees, and they must build covers over the ATM to accommodate at least 10 customers. We live in a tropical country. The sun can be merciless at times, and the rain can fall at any time. The banks must be held to a higher standard, and they must give better service. The people of Western St. Mary are asking for a longer transition period for the banks to go cashless. We agree that going cashless is the way of the future, but the move is too sudden. Older persons are being forced to expose their account information and PIN because they cannot manage the ATM process. Not even me can do it. People are at the ATMs now, willing and waiting to assist older persons. Then them thief their money. Many older Jamaicans don't even want their children to know how much money in the bank account. Now they are being forced to hand over this information to so-called helpful strangers, and the banks who create this problem are again blameless. How can the minister sit down and allow the banks to be disrespecting ordinary Jamaicans? We have an institution that you issue a license to, and they are refusing to accept legal Jamaican tender that is issued by the Bank of Jamaica. If I go in the bank in Port Maria with a $20 or $100 bill, they refuse to accept it, and it's not a counterfeit bill, it's legal tender, and that is wrong. It is the same BOJ who issues the $100 bill that issues their license. So if they can accept the license from the BOJ, they can accept the legal tender from the BOJ. St. Mary people are wondering if the minister and the BOJ are protecting them or the banks. The Minister of Finance is a rural man, and I know he will protect the banks and the customer, because there has to be balance. We cannot be unreasonable. Madam Speaker, right now, the people are suffering at the hands of these rapacious bankers. To the Minister of Finance, I say, seize the moment. This is in your hands. And his hands are capable hands, and we are depending on him to act. The Minister of Finance must also sit down with Minister Hill and John Pro and design a program to seek out and attract other banks to come to Jamaica. There are smaller sound banks all over the southern US, in Canada and in the UK. We can look to India or Singapore. The minister is aware, I know, that there are some of the world's best and soundest banks are in Africa. We can invite them here. Because the kind of profits our banks are making, it won't be difficult for other banks to come here to try to make some of these profits. The Minister of Finance, if he wants to cement his legacy, must act now. I say to the minister, don't let St. Mary people turn this moment into a movement. With all the time on my hands, I can tell you, I won't sit down and make the movement in St. Mary left me. I urge the minister to seize the moment. I believe, Madam Speaker, that enough has been said on the matter. Madam Speaker, the Queen of England has died, and may her soul rest in peace. The acting House leader said yesterday that we have unfinished business. Indeed we do, but we also have unfinished business ourselves. If we are to be a republic, not only must the Constitution be changed, but many other symbols, orders, and arrangements too. Holding a referendum is not the end-all nor the be-all of this process. The referendum can be the start or the end of the process. I would want it to be the end. So let us sort out everything now, so that when you hold the referendum, it's smooth sailing to a functional republic. For example, is the new Republican-type constitution draft and ready? Do we need a constitutional assembly? Madam Speaker, our seals and emblems and buttons on the police uniforms will have to be changed, as the JDF has already changed it. We now have an opportunity to change to a Jamaican standard, or are we going to change from Elizabeth R2 to Charles R3, and then 2 years' time we have to change again to the Jamaican thing? So just seize this moment and make one change. I am not a lawyer, I must admit, neither am I legally trained. But these are some of the questions that the people of West Mary ask. Since King Charles III is the King of Jamaica and head of state, is there a Jamaican throne separate from a Canadian or English throne? Can the King abdicate his Jamaican throne without abdicating his British throne? While we know that if Jamaica wishes to leave the monarchy, we must hold a referendum, what if the King wishes no longer to be our king or head of state? As many royals from time to time pull away from their royal duties. Can we force him to be our head of state? Is that allowed? Since he is the King of Jamaica, can we petition him? Can we ask him to give up Jamaica so we can save the expense of a referendum? What's the timetable or pathway not only to have a referendum, but to have a fully functional republic? I am no lawyer, but these are some of the questions my citizens want answered. Madam Speaker, the other matter Western St. Mary needs to be highlighted is that we need the practice of issuing checks without work to people under 60 to stop. We must give them work. The pandemic is over. The country has many little things to get done. Give them work. clean drains, build sidewalk, train rivers, maintain bridge, weed roadside, give the people work, prioritize the poor and vulnerable. Those who would have gotten the checks, give them the work, because by the sweat of your brow, you must eat bread. Too much freeness is not good. I know that some universities and international institutions are pushing this cash transfer solution, but in Jamaica, we have many little things that needs to be done. Let's combine the cash and the work and get them done. Furthermore, we need a massive infrastructure program that targets community, housing schemes, and farm roads, bridges, drains, and river training. We need $20 billion to be allocated per year for the next 5 years. These funds must be allocated to the NWA and the municipal corporations. However, a portion of these funds must be reserved for constituencies to deal with local priorities. An equal minimum amount should be allocated per constituency and additional funds given based on parish council divisions and population size based on the voters. It is manifestly unfair for constituencies with 2 parish council divisions to get the same amount as those with 4, 5, or 6 divisions, or those with twice as many citizens. It is the people that we put at a disadvantage. Western St. Mary has 5 parish council divisions and 40,000 persons on the voters list. Yet constituencies have 2 divisions and less than 20,000 on the list get the same amount as Western St. Mary. The smaller constituencies end up getting more, and the tax-paying citizens in larger constituencies get less. The practice must stop. And if it means that we have to carry a resolution, so to do, so will it be. The source of funding for my solutions are a portion of the unused recurrent balances from the agencies, departments, and ministries. B, reduce the Ministry of Finance spending on consultants and studies for 2 years, and the BOJ profits. If in the midst of the pandemic, the BOJ could have handed over $30 billion in profit in order for us to craft a supplementary budget, can you imagine the profit now that we are recovering stronger? In addition, Madam, we are asking that the Constituency Development Fund be increased 3-fold, or to any amounts that the original policy dictated. A percentage of the budget was to be placed in the fund, but due to the recession in 2009, we had to reduce it from the 40 million to 15 million. And God bless Prime Minister Holness, who took it back up to 20 million where it is now. The minister is a man that loves to follow policy. In this case, I urge him to follow that policy. The originating policy document called for a set percentage of the budget to be spent on the concerns and issues of the people. And this was 1% after capital and debt expenditure. Of the $912 billion budget, when you remove capital and debit repayments, you are left with $540 billion. 1% of that divided by 63 gives you $85 million. That is what the CDF ought to be. We are only asking for 60 now because we understand the realities that face the Ministry of Finance. Madam Speaker, there are allegations, however, that some MPs do not fully allocate all of their CDF annually, and the unspent funds have to be returned to the Ministry of Finance, thus robbing the people of a benefit. These MPs must be named. Their names must be made public. It is a travesty of justice that the little money allocated to improve the lives of the people at the community level is not being properly used. The names must be published and the funds reallocated to MPs who spend their money, like Western St. Mary. Madam Speaker, hundreds of students are in college and university today because of the CDF. Hundreds of sporting competitions all over the country are being held because of the CDF. The sick is assisted, the poor is assisted, there is help with burying the dead, small roads are repaired, housing material bought, small economic assistance given. The CDF is a good program, effective program. Madam Speaker, I congratulate former Prime Minister Bruce Golding for coming up with this idea. It is a good program and we should be proud of the CDS. It is a policy success. Let us increase and improve it. Right, Tony. Equally, Madam Speaker, there are many who will argue against it. Yes, oh, Mr. Speaker. Yes, that is their right to argue against it. Let's respect their right to do so. Let's not bash them. But the people who we represent are demanding an increase, and we must go and abide by the original policy because that has not changed. Let's not cherry pick which policy guidelines we are to obey. The collective position of the people must be respected. It is this Parliament that passed the original policy document. Let us obey it and urge the Minister to increase the CDF. Western St. Mary is not asking the Minister of Finance to be wanton, reckless, or free-handed with the country's resources. We are just asking that the priorities be reordered within the same revenue envelope. Good ministers of finance must be tight, but not mean. And our minister is tight, sort of. We are not asking to increase taxes. We are not asking for the ministry to miss targets. We are not asking for the minister to grow the debt or slow the reduction, nor to reduce the deficit. We in Western St. Mary are asking the minister to be responsible, but reorder the priorities, do some cuts and tighten up. We have come too far to waste the gains. We have sacrificed too much to waste the gains. We are seeing the light as a country. We are turning the corner. We have traveled too far to waste the gains. Mr. Speaker, people of Western St. Mary wish to ask for an increase in the amounts allocated to run the office of a Member of Parliament, so that our constituents can be better served. My citizens know the value of a good office and are demanding, not asking for a good office. They have made it very clear that their representative must be paid properly in keeping with the office. MPs many times have to pay for medication, food, school book, deal with emergencies of the people, because sometimes by the time you finish with the procurement for CDF, sick people dead. In addition, we must be in the public sector wage reviews, ensure that members of Parliament are included in that review. Equally, Mr. Speaker, ministers must go back to be paid $1 more than the permanent secretary. The minister's salary must be more than the PS salary. You can't be the boss, the head of the entity, and you're getting less than the managers who report to you. No Sankey, no Simpson. The arrangement is wrong. It disrupts the normal flow and order. So let me be very clear. My constituents has told me that I must not accept any token salary reduction for window dressing or PR purposes, because they depend on my salary to help buy the medication when Friday comes. So if my salary is reduced, they have a problem. Also, it is time we include our senators in the little government health scheme. As a matter of fact, we and all the government workers need a proper health insurance. This managed pool fund is not adequate, and it is too expensive for the taxpayer. It is cheaper to use the money and purchase proper health insurance. And we also need to fix the pension arrangements. MPs contribute to their pensions. We are not wholly dependent on the public purse. So let's fix the pension arrangement so retired parliamentarians can be paid their pension and be included on the health insurance. Mr. Speaker, one day, all of us in here are going to be an ex-parliamentarian. One day. So let us do it now, while we are here. We are also asking that a suitable allocation, starting with 2 billion each, be given to rural water and rural electrification, or NESAL, or any name you want to call it. Let's do that for 3 years and get pipe water and electricity into every community. Let us make 2 billion with a B. With a B like Bobby. Or Busha. Let us make 100% access to water and light a priority over the next 3 years. Let us set that goal as a country. We must give the Ministry of Energy the funds to restart the program using solar generators for houses that are just too far off the grid and too expensive to reach. Credit must be given to the former Minister of Energy, Dr. Andrew Weekly, who started that solar program. Let us big him up and press on, and also mention Philip Paulwell because of the light bulb. So let us allocate the money and let Darrell do it. Solar-powered water system must be used to get water into remote communities. Mr. Speaker, I had such one system, and on the night of the 31st of July, some little dirty criminal came and stole the panels and batteries. But thanks to the hard-working Superintendent of Police, Superintendent Bobbitt Morgan, and her team, they were able to detain one and are pursuing investigations in the matter, and we are confident that the superintendent will make an arrest of this dirty, frowsy, thieving criminal who tried to deprive the people of Montreal of their water. Unvarnished language, but the dirty thief is unvarnished too. I also need an update on the promised Masonal water system. This was promised in our manifesto from 2007. The pipes were bought for 72 million. It is time work start on the system. The people are suffering for water. The Geisel water system needs a generator as they suffer from low voltage almost every day. Mr. Speaker, is it beyond the NWC and the K factor to buy a generator for Geisel? Plus the Rio Mino line that stops at Moorlands in northeast St. Catherine, less than a mile away from the plant, must be completed so that a new source of water can get to Geisel. The new source in Seafield must be developed and added to the system. Mr. Speaker, 2 40-horse pumps and 4 miles of 4-inch pipes were bought with United Nations money in the early 2000s and placed at Lucky Hill in St. Mary in order to lift water to Jeffreytown and Decoy so they could be removed from the Geisel system. This worked, and the citizens were getting water until the NWC borrowed one of the pumps. Then they later borrowed the second pump and replaced them eventually with a smaller pump. We are now demanding that at least one of the 40-horsepower pumps be returned to Lucky Hill so the people of Jeffreytown, Top Road and Decoy can get water. The Eden Park housing scheme that was built when another administration was in power had no water connected. The Housing Agency of Jamaica started some work 2 years ago to lay pipes and connect the water for the people. Work has stopped for over a year now, and we need this work to be completed. Mango Valley needs a new tank and a non-return valve, so all of Mango Valley and Fellowship Hall can be served. Gale needs to be connected to the labyrinth system. Gale is the capital of the wonderful constituency of Western St. Mary and is suffering. Yet some in excess of 7 million gallons of water are available in labyrinth, only 2 miles away. The Hunstone-Wellington system is in need of some valves and to be connected to the Bonnygate system. In the Tower area, all the housing developments are suffering from water shortages, and we are expanding Airbnb tourism in that area. Mr. Speaker, Western St. Mary has 55% of its lands untitled. We need titles. The National Land Agency needs to declare St. Mary a project area under its systematic program without delay. This will unlock huge economic potential for the people of Western St. Mary. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you cannot find 1 mile of pothole-free road in Western St. Mary. We need a special program. But let me thank Minister Everald Warmington for his tireless efforts to help us in Western St. Mary. He needs more resources, much more resources, and he ought to be given it.
Mr. Speaker, the member's presentation is most riveting, and whilst the time allotted has passed, I now ask that the standing orders be suspended to enable the minister to continue the member to continue his speech to its conclusion, notwithstanding the time limit on speeches.
Acting House Leader, would you want to be more specific as to the time?
Given the riveting nature of the member's presentation, and I have noticed how the entire backbench has completely been enthralled by it, I think that sufficient time be allowed for him to complete would be best stated, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Aye. Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you and my colleagues from both sides of the House for allowing me a little extension. Mr. Speaker, we need an update from the National Housing Trust about the Galena housing scheme that has been promised, and the upgrade to the Industry Pen housing scheme. The Most Honorable Prime Minister gave a commitment to the people, met with them and heard from them himself. And he gave them a commitment that the NHT would have corrected the ills of that scheme, a scheme that Minister Samuda knows very well up in Three Hills. Apart from cleaning the sewage tank, we are seeing nothing nor hearing nothing from the NHT. But the people of Industry Pen love their Prime Minister. They believe in their Prime Minister because they know he is the prosperity giver and the builder. So we are asking the NHT to rise to the occasion and provide an update and tell us when they're going to start the Prime Minister's program. Mr. Speaker, let me also congratulate the Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness on the social housing program. Prime Minister, wherever you are, thank you for conceptualizing and implementing this wonderful program. It's a game changer. Continue, Prime Minister, to hand over houses. And may I suggest to the Most Honorable Prime Minister that he doubles the budget for the social housing program. But Prime Minister, please understand that not everybody needs a house. Some people have their house already, but it needs some repairs. We need a housing repair program as well, because there are houses in Western St. Mary that need 100 or so building blocks, some cement, some ply, some zinc. And I am asking that we start a program of housing assistance where each constituency could start off with about 30 million per year for the next 3 years. This can be from the unclaimed results of the NHT or from the BOJ profits. Housing assistance, Mr. Speaker, is the biggest request in Western St. Mary, followed by farm work yard. Mr. Speaker, we need to provide additional funding to the Universal Service Fund to pay for satellite-based internet service to be able to cover the 30 to 40% of rural Jamaica that fiber will never reach, or it is too expensive to reach. Satellite-based internet is the only way that we can reach every single person and community in deep rural Jamaica. We must provide internet service to our people. Internet is now a basic right. Mr. Speaker, Western St. Mary is underserved by justices of the peace. We are finding it difficult to get JPs appointed. There seems to be some deliberate blockage. Western St. Mary is the largest constituency in St. Mary by any measure, by land, by voters, and by parish council divisions, the largest. Yet at the last swearing-in ceremony for JPs, 50 were sworn in. And I had to point out to the Minister of Justice that of the 50, 24 were from Central St. Mary, the smallest constituency in the parish. 14 to Southeast and the rest to Western St. Mary. This is manifestly unfair to the people of Western St. Mary. The minister needs to correct this. The people of Western St. Mary are being punished. And let me remind the Honourable Minister, you don't have to like a member of Parliament for Western St. Mary. But Western St. Mary, Mr. Minister, don't sit in opposition. Western St. Mary historically sits with government. So anywhere Western St. Mary go, that's where the government goes. And the people of Western St. Mary are underserved. The only other constituency that have that record is Floyd one in St. Elizabeth. They are underserved with JPs, and it's a big issue. It might be nothing to some people, but it's a big issue. And my people, if we don't treat with this matter of JPs and access to the people, I might lose as the member of Parliament. You won't lose your seat because of what your seat is. But if I lose my seat, you will become the opposition spokesman on justice. Mr. Speaker, I know you're a man with your ears on the ground. And I know you understand that my hanging and arming speech last week, and what I have just said this week, and what I will say in the future, I speak to the people's interests. It also has placed me in the firing line of some powerful and influential people. These powerful people will respond one day. I know that. So, Mr. Speaker, I have already received the messages, but I must cool and behave myself. So, Mr. Speaker, listen out for a new rumor story about me. The social media worries are being pumped and they're planning to take me on. Look out for some report or something, because they're coming after this little country guy, because he is speaking for the people. I am advising you, sir, that when the Philistines rise up against me, because I dare to say what the majority of Jamaicans want to be said, I speak for the citizens, nobody else. I do not speak for special interests, but for the people of Western St. Mary. They are the ones that sent me here. But like Caleb, I will walk the hills and valleys of St. Mary West and speak the truth. The people of Western St. Mary demand nothing less. Mr. Speaker, the people have entrusted us with their dreams, goals, and aspirations. I must articulate them here. I have a duty so to do. There's nowhere else I can articulate them. I am being pressured, but I will resist. Mr. Speaker, I ask that our banking issues be resolved. Our status towards the Republic be clarified. We look forward to an increase in the CDF, better office allowance, and better pay. We need a $20 billion public infrastructure program, better water supplies, roads, and internet. And we need 100% coverage for water and roads. We need to start back the solarization program, establish a housing assistance program, give us more JPs in Western St. Mary, so that in our 60th years, as an independent nation, prosperity can break out in every corner of Western St. Mary. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you, sir, because it has been a plum-pleasing pleasure to have spoken in this debate. This is Ms. Leela Washbelly from Topside Frog Wall up at Donnington, saying a big thank you, and Mr. Speaker, if it so pleases you. Thank you, sir.
Member of Parliament and former Minister of Transport, Robert Bobby Montague. Like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. May God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land. We